Chapter 401 The Savage Beasts into Battle. He wasn't the only one with this thought in mind. Whether it was the Tang Sect or Shrek 7 monsters, everyone was used to fighting with Huo Yuao as the main control-type soulmaster. His spiritual detection shared with everyone in battle was the most important guarantee for everyone's survival. However, nobody knew where Huo Yuao was, and he was nowhere to be seen even until now. Bei Bei rubbed his fists forcefully, and a determined look appeared in his eyes. He lowered his voice and said, whether or not this beast wavers anything to do with Yuao, he will always be a part of the Tang Sect, and he will always be the most important part. I will use our Sect's strength to protect him no matter what the cost may be. I hope you guys can understand. Shu Sanchi said lazily, why are you saying all that? Do you think any of us will object? The new generation of Shrek 7 monsters are one, and the Tang Sect is one. One man's glory is everyone's glory. Furthermore, Yuao's role in the beast wave was lighting the fuse. At most, Bei Bei scanned everyone's faces, and could tell that nobody had any intention to object. He heaved a sigh of relief inside. Wasn't he also carrying a heavy burden on his shoulders? Deafening booms echoed out once more as stationary soul cannon shells began to show their fearsome powers explosively. Different beams of light glowed one after another, and large masses of soul beasts perished with each instance. The Juga divine crossbow cannons were still firing crazily from the top of the city wall. The other soul tools and shock bombs that Shrek Academy and the Tang Sect had provided were being unleashed onto the battlefield without any reservation at all. However, the soul beasts were forging ahead, and still drawing closer and closer to Shrek City. The smell of smoke from guns permeated the air, but the wild stench spreading from those soul beasts was even more penetrating. Right at this moment, the 4 savage beasts who were hovering in midair finally made their move. Except for the Emerald Swan, who was moving forward slowly, the other 3 savage beasts were flying towards the top of Shrek City wall with lightning speed. They weren't the only ones moving. Every savage beast had 20 to 30 soul beasts of many different kinds following behind them and moving along with them. There was no exception, and all of those soul beasts possessed the ability to fly. They were able to follow the savage beasts into battle, and this meant their strengths were worthy. Ferocious shadows gradually appeared one after another in the sky, and they were all soul beasts who had at least 50,000 years of cultivation. Some of them had more than 100,000 years of cultivation. This group was the true main force of the soul beast army, the main force that could determine the outcome of this battle. The frightening force of the stationary soul cannon shells had unsettled these 4 savage beasts. They discussed with each other via their own special communication methods unique only to them, and they decided to attack with full force. The deaths of normal soul beasts didn't really affect the Great Stardow Forest, but if too many soul beasts died, the forest would still be shaken to its very roots. In the end, top-tier soul beasts were once low-tier soul beasts, and which soul beast didn't need an ascension process to become a powerful individual? Would the Great Stardow Forest still have a future if too many low-tier soul beasts perished? Therefore, even though they knew very well that Shrek City wasn't sufficiently spent or exhausted, they had no other choice but to activate their main force that could truly determine the outcome of battle. They had to send out their truly mighty beasts. Everyone from Shrek City was as solemn as could be as they watched the large masses of powerful soul beasts flying toward them in the sky. Of the 4 different sides, the Emerald Swan flew behind everyone else toward the southern city wall, and over 30 mighty soul beasts flew in front of her. There were 7 or 8 soul beasts who had at least 100,000 years of cultivation, and there were more 100,000-year soul beasts in this group than the other 3 sides. The Emerald Swan was a savage beast, but her direct fighting strength wasn't that strong. In terms of her auxiliary powers and her healing abilities, however, not a single human could match her might. With her around, these formidable soul beasts' fighting strengths undoubtedly doubled. Nobody was willing to start a fight like this, but did Shrek City have a choice? There were relatively few 100,000-year soul beasts on the other 3 sides, but they were charging toward the city with the savage beasts who were more adept at fighting. The savage beast who was charging at the fastest pace was the king of the Dark Gold and Terraclaw Bears. The savage beast who was known for his violent and fierce temperament, the Bear Lord. The Bear Lord's tremendous frame and aura alone gave everyone in Shrek City a feeling as if a mountain was bearing down upon them. Among the defenders on this side, 2 members of the Sea God's Pavilion rose up to meet the savage beast, the Valkyrie Douluo, Shenliner, and her husband, the Vice Dean of Shrek Academy's Soul Tool Department, Duo. The Bear Lord's body was simply too massive. Even though he could rely on his formidable cultivation to soar through the sky, he still looked a little clumsy. The Bear Lord had 470,000 years of cultivation, and that meant he was more powerful than the Ice Empress even when she was at her peak condition. The standards of the Bear Lord's soul power was close to that of a rank 97 titled Douluo. Furthermore, he was a Dark Golden Terraclaw Bear. A Dark Golden Terraclaw Bear with 470,000 years of cultivation possessed such formidable direct fighting strength that a typical ultimate Douluo wouldn't be confident of defeating him. The Bear Lord was an overbearing presence in the Great Stardow Forest that nobody dared to disturb. Shenliner stood on the battlement calmly. The long-range attacks that those soul beasts beneath her fired were immediately sliced into pieces by a formless power when they reached within 100 meters of her. Their attacks vanished into thin air and could no longer cause any damage. Shenliner arrived on the western side of the city after she decided to use all the stationary soul cannon shells, her goal being to challenge the Bear Lord. Initially, this task didn't fall to her. She was giving herself more pressure. Ever since she broke through rank 95 and became a transcendent Douluo, she felt that raising her soul power even further was unbelievably difficult, and she finally understood why Yan Shaosh spent so many years after reaching rank 95 to ascend another rank. Yan Shaosh had only recently reached rank 96, and he was lauded as the #1 prodigy of their generation. Reality proved that Shrek Academy had never lacked talent, but even talented and gifted individuals would have exhausted all their talent by the time they became transcendent Douluo. Every further step after rank 95 was incredibly challenging, but every rank also meant an immense increase in strength at the same time. Shenliner had once asked Elderson how she could go even further. Elderson told her that humans were like receptacles, and only sufficiently strong pressure could give them enough push and motivation to ignite their potential. How many people could give Shenliner this pressure in the world today? With Shrek Academy's environment and surroundings and her status, they would never allow her to take this risk. However, Shrek no longer had a way out in their current circumstances. The soaring Valkyrie was already full of boundless belligerence and fighting intent. Therefore, she found the Bear Lord, who possessed the strongest frontal fighting strength amongst the 4 savage beasts, and who was also the king of the Dark Gold and Terraclaw Bears. Duo didn't stand on the top of the sea wall like Shenliner did. He quietly stood at a position further back on the city wall, but a layer of formidable soul power undulations permeated his surroundings. Duo's cultivation rank was lower than Shenliner's. He had been stuck at rank 94 for quite some time. Furthermore, he could feel that he would never break through this threshold and ascend to rank 95 through his entire lifetime if he didn't run into some miraculous encounter. Therefore, he channeled more of his time and energy into researching soul tools. Ever since Sun Swen had arrived, Duo had lowered his attitude, and he had long become a frequent guest of the Tang Sect Soul Tool Hall. He seemed to have found a direction to break through from class 8 to class 9 in recent days. In the end, he was a true titled Douluo, and he wasn't like the Sun Moon Empire's class 9 soul engineers, who became titled Douluo through various cheat methods. Duo's solid soul power rank meant there were many things he could do when he became a class 9 soul engineer. There was a row of metal barrels of many different colors planted on the ground in front of him at this moment. There were 7 in total, and they were all of varying lengths, thickness, and colors, while every single one seemed to have their own unique characteristics. He was just standing calmly behind these 7 barrels as he silently watched Shenliner, who was standing on the battlements. His face was as calm as ever, and there were many other people standing on top of the city wall on this side. This group included 7 teachers from the inner courtyard, and another elder from the Sea God's Pavilion, along with some students from the inner courtyard. Wu Ming, whose martial soul was a golden crow, was part of this group, along with the boyfriend that she had walked away with from the Sea God's fate, Chu Qingtian. More accurately put, Chu Qingtian was her husband now. Wu Ming and Chu Qingtian stood shoulder to shoulder. Chu Qingtian seemed a little melancholic, but Wu Ming's eyes were filled with excitement, as if there were flames dancing in her eyes. She was one of the demon ladies from Shrek Academy's inner courtyard, and she had always possessed a thirst for battle. Wu Ming hugged Chu Qingtian across the shoulders and whispered, "Relax a little. Don't be so nervous. Haven't we been cultivating hard so that we can fight? A big occasion like this isn't something that we can encounter at any time." Chu Qingtian laughed bitterly and said, "I would rather never face a big occasion such as this for my entire life." Wu Ming patted him on his back and said, "Don't worry. I will do my best to protect you later on." Chu Qingtian rolled his eyes and said, "Please, I'm the one who should be saying that, right?" Wu Ming giggled and said, "Who will protect who isn't determined by gender. It's determined by fighting strength." The soul beasts flying through the sky had arrived as the two of them exchanged words. The Bear Lord was within 1 kilometer from Shrek City, and Shenliner shouted as she applied strength through the tips of her toes and soared into the sky like an arrow. The sky was the battlefield for powerful individuals at their level. 2 beams of red light emerged from the Bear Lord's eyes, and he could clearly feel intense provocation from Shenliner. This human female soul power undulations were inferior to his own. own, but she possessed a unique quality that attracted his attention. The Bear Lord roared furiously into the sky as he stretched out his arms, and his massive frame shook as he rose through the air. That wasn't all. His frame was already humongous, but he became even larger as he gradually raised his arms into the air. Frighteningly long dark golden terraclaws sprang out, and streaks of black light that resembled cracks in the sky appeared around his sharp talons. He hadn't sliced out with his sharp claws yet, but his claws alone tore through the air. Scorching green flames erupted from Shenlina's body. She was growing taller, and became more than 5 meters tall in the blink of an eye, even as green armor appeared on her body. Her armor covered her entire body like scales as 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black soul rings rose from beneath her feet. Her enlarged version seemed to make her younger, as if she were a young girl who was in her 20s, and she had an aura full of belligerence and valor. Her current form was the true appearance of the soaring Valkyrie. Shenlina's martial soul was the green flame dragon, and even though her body was releasing green flames, her martial soul's element was wind. Those flames were produced after wind-type energies were swiftly converted and compressed, and possessed immense disintegrating properties. The green flame dragon was considered a species of flying dragon, and her formidable martial soul was on the same level as the ruby dragon that Nan Shuishui and Nan Kyukaiyu had inherited within the Earth Dragon Sect. The ruby dragon's element was annihilation, and that element directly obliterated everything, while the green flame dragon's disintegrating qualities were more focused on slicing and dispersing. The green flame dragon was theoretically considered a direct descendant of the golden dragon, and even the spear in Shenlina's hands came from her martial soul at birth, similar to the golden dragon spear. The Valkyrie would never wait on the battlefield. The Bear Lord was becoming larger as he rose into the sky towards her, and Shenlina's eyes sparkled with intense green light at the same time as she spun around in the air and plummeted downwards. She moved like a green shooting star as she plunged towards the king of the dark golden terraclaw bears. Green flames seemed to seep out of her eyes as she soared through the sky, and she arrived above the Bear Lord in a flash of green light. The Bear Lord made his move, and he made a move that was strength personified. He swung his enormous arms in front of him and clawed out with his palms facing out. Terrifying dark golden hues tainted the sky in the next moment. Just what kind of claws were they? Every single talon transformed into a horrifying dark golden blade that was more than 100 meters long, and his massive dark golden terraclaws seemed as if they were about to tear the heavens apart. This petrifying sight immediately shook the soldiers who were on Shrek City's western wall. The air was completely torn apart wherever these 10 sharp talons crossed, and howls could be faintly heard from those torn spaces. One could see faint dots of starlight amid the eerie darkness. This was the might of a savage beast. Even strong individuals like Tian and the evil-eye tyrant king were unwilling to take a swipe from the Bear Lord's dark golden terraclaws head on. The Bear Lord was the true king of destruction. However, something completely unexpected happened. The Valkyrie chose to meet force with force against the dark golden terraclaws that not even the beast god himself was willing to meet head on. Yes, she chose to meet force with force. A beam of golden light suddenly shot out from the top of Shrek's city wall and instantly landed on her green flames. In that instant, the green flames that were descending from the sky were layered and protected by a blurry layer of golden light. Hazy mist surrounded all that golden light, and everything seemed a little unreal in that instant. The Bear Lord's terrifying dark golden terraclaws swiped across her in a flash. A strange scene occurred when his claws touched the golden light. The bear's sharp claws skidded away, and the hazy golden light immediately became surreal and illusory in that moment. The green flames downward swoop seemed to pause momentarily, as if they had been laid with grease, and they slipped through the cracks between all that dark golden light. However, the dark golden terraclaws were simply too destructive. Even though the golden light was filled with spatial power, all that golden light was still torn to pieces as the green flames slipped past his claws. But that wasn't important. What was important was that the Valkyrie had achieved her goal. She slipped through the bear's deadly claws, and indignant dragon roars echoed throughout the entire battlefield. The green flames became conical, and they went straight for the space between the Bear Lord's eyebrows. She broke through just like that. Back on top of the city wall, Duo stared closely at the battle in the sky, and gradually lowered a golden cannon in his hands. That was light of spatial protection, a Class 8 soul tool. This soul tool was known amongst Class 8 soul tools as the Unbreakable Fortress, and was a stronger version of the Invincible Barrier. This soul tool allowed the user to temporarily enter another dimension when taking a hit, but even so, the Bear Lord's dark golden terraclaws still managed to tear through space itself, which meant hiding in another dimension couldn't entirely evade his attack. It wasn't hard to imagine how frightening the Bear Lord's attacking strength was. That was just pure offensive strength. However, their plan was successful in the end. They had been married for many years, and Duo and Shenlina's chemistry and teamwork was so good that they were almost the same person. They were very clear that in terms of strength, they were no match for the Bear Lord even if they teamed up. They could only make use of the Bear Lord's unfamiliarity and lack of understanding towards soul tools at the start of the battle to catch him by surprise so that they would have a chance to strike. That was the reason why they had come up with such a fighting strategy, and Shenlina chose to meet force with force when everyone thought she would avoid the bear's sharp claws. The Bear Lord's frame was too massive, and his excessively large body meant he wasn't very agile. After he grew bigger, the bear was 100 meters tall, while Shenlina moved with incredible speed. The Bear Lord's arms had just swung through the air when the conical green flames reached the center of his eyebrows, and he didn't have a chance to respond. However, the Bear Lord chose a response that surprised every onlooker. He didn't even attempt to dodge this attack. His dark golden eyes flickered with blood-red colors, and were filled with disdain and indifference as he lowered his head, behind his forehead to clash against the conical green flames. That was an all-out attack from Shenlina, a rank 95 transcendent Douluo, who was known as the Valkyrie. Even though she didn't use her strongest soul skill because she desired speed, would the Bear Lord's body just forcefully clash against her formidable attack that possessed disintegrating qualities? Bam! Green flames scattered in all directions in the sky, and Shenlina's figure appeared in the sky as she spiraled through the air. The tremendous impact rendered her unable to control her own body, and she channeled soul power continuously to stabilize herself as she flew backwards rapidly. And the Bear Lord? He simply arched his large head backwards, and several strands of dark golden fur drifted down from his forehead. He used the back of his paws and rubbed his forehead before he howled furiously. It seemed like all he took was a little pain, and he didn't suffer any real injuries at all. The soul masters watching from the top of the city wall were astounded when they saw this. Nothing happened to the Bear Lord when he clashed forcefully with an attack from a transcendent Douluo. He didn't even shed a single drop of blood. That was simply too unbelievable. Were the Bear Lord's defenses that fierce and formidable? Yes, the bear's defenses were indeed that strong. Shenlina felt this the most because she was the one who had attacked him. When her green flame spear stabbed into the Bear Lord's forehead, she felt as if she had actually clashed with a shooting star. Terrifying strength instantly sent her hurtling through the air, and her right arm that was holding onto her green flame spear was all sore and numb. One could only understand whether the opponent was strong or weak in an actual encounter. Not a single beast wasn't worthy of their reputation, and the Bear Lord lived up to his name as number 5 of the 10 great savage beasts. There was no question that he possessed the strongest defensive capabilities among today's 4 savage beasts. The Bear Lord's muscular chest bulged as he swung his arms outward. His thick arms stretched out at his side, and he howled furiously as he suddenly raised his dark golden terraclaws high into the sky. All his fur began to shine with intense golden light, and in that moment, he sparkled and shone like a sun. His roars were extremely thick and dense, and they resonated through the heavens like dull thunderclaps. His roars shook the soul masters and soldiers standing on the city wall beneath him until they felt dizzy, while the soul beasts that were attacking the city became exceptionally excited. Their attacking momentum became fiercer than before, and the soul tools on top of the city wall seemed like they couldn't hold those soul beasts back any longer. Shenlina's expression instantly became serious and solemn. She had the strongest feelings about the Bear Lord because she was facing him directly. She couldn't really withstand the Bear Lord's frightening pressure, which resembled that of a mountain, even with her cultivation rank, and the green dragon scales on the surface of her body rippled continuously to dispel that pressure. Is the Bear Lord using his signature move from the get-go? What kind of fighting style is this? Shenlina didn't dare to neglect her opponent. The Bear Lord was stronger than she had predicted, and she grit her teeth as she raised her green flame spear high into the air. The green flames on her body flourished at the same time, and waves of dragon roars could be heard. Her 7th soul ring glowed as she instantly transformed into a giant green dragon and circled in midair. She unleashed layers of green flame again and again, and these flames formed a colossal green dragon head in front of her as she stared at the Bear Lord opposite her in the distance. Duo didn't idle around, either. Shenlina was evidently unable to stop the Bear Lord by herself, and he tapped to the ground with the tip of his foot as he swiftly flew out from the city. This time, he didn't carry his soul tools. 9 soul rings glimmered on his body, and his 7th soul ring sparkled as black light gradually cocooned his body while he rose into the sky. He transformed into an enormous enormous shield, and swiftly rose to Shenlina's side. This shield was squarish, and there were black dragon patterns on its surface. A black dragon seemed to shimmer on the shield's surface, but the dragon's eyes weren't golden like that of the beast god, but red instead. The shield's surface seemed to be inlaid with 2 red gems. This was Chen Duojuo's martial soul, the black dragon shield. Back in the day, Chen Duojuo, Kai Maya, Shenlina, and Yan Shaosh were known as Shrek's golden generation because their martial souls were all powerful, and they possessed formidable strength. Yan Shaosh was the strongest among them, and Shenlina came next, and Kai Maya after her. Chen Guoguo was weakest one, but he was a defense-type soul master, and his defensive capabilities were the most outstanding among them. This was also the most important reason why he chose to become a soul engineer in the end. There was a part of his past that was very regrettable, and he craved defensive power. Faced with a powerful enemy, Chen Duojuo finally chose to fight using his own martial soul. He was willing to become Shenlina's shield. Shenlina, who was in her green flame dragon form, glanced at Chen Duojuo beside her. Faint light flickered in her eyes as she lowered her voice and growled, "Be careful, old Chen, don't worry." His black dragon shield's dragon mouth opened and closed. The bear lord made his move at this moment. The thick and dense golden light on its body suddenly all concentrated toward his twin claws, and his initially dark golden claws instantly became brilliantly golden. Streaks of light that resembled waves flowed on the surface of his razor-sharp claws, eventually stopping at the edge of his claws. "Go to hell, the both of you." The bear lord shouted ferociously as he slashed his sharp claws towards Shenlina, as if he were cutting open heaven and earth. A terrifying scene appeared. 10 razor-sharp golden blades that were at least 1,000 meters long appeared on his dark golden terror claws, and 10 enormous gashes were instantly torn open in the sky as the bear's frightening claws slashed toward Shenlina. The bear lord was furious, and the consequences were serious. Shenlina's spear did injure him. Even though his wounds weren't serious, the bear lord was irascible and had a terrible temper. He had dominated the Great Stardo Forest for so many years, and it had been a long time since he was last hurt. His fight had just begun, and his opponent had already injured him. That was incredibly humiliating to him. He was one of the most arrogant kinds of soul beasts, and he didn't give face to anyone except for Ditian. Everyone feared him in the Great Stardo Forest. The bear lord was hurt when he had just started his fight today. It infuriated him. The attack that he was unleashing at the moment wasn't one of his innate abilities. Instead, he had managed to grow it over time, and by relying on his formidable strength. This was similar to a human soul master's self-invented fighting technique, yet this attack was even stronger than those self-invented fighting techniques, because the bear lord was raising his dark golden terror claws' destructive power to its strongest possible level. The bear lord's giant 1,000-meter claws actually tore open the sky. Those deep and hideous gashes produced enormous vacuum forces, and Chen Duojuo and Shenlina were being forcefully sucked towards them. They hurriedly channeled their soul power, and only then could they barely stabilize themselves. The green dragon head that had condensed in front of Shenlina before this flew forward uncontrollably. Shenlina hadn't expected the bear lord's attack to have such effects, and she had no time to control her dragon head further. She gritted her teeth and activated all her soul power to propel that green dragon head further. Dragon roars echoed throughout the sky as the green flame dragon's head rose through the air. Tremendous disintegrating powers tainted the sky with bluish-green hues, and everything seemed exceptionally gorgeous. It was a pity that this gorgeousness didn't last for very long. When those frightening 1,000-meter-long claws tore through the sky, the bluish-green colors were swiftly consumed by the space that had been slashed open. Shenlina's green dragon head was almost instantly torn into a million pieces. The bear lord had coined this attack his Skydia Claw. He had once attempted to challenge Ditian's authority, and had relied on this attack to severely wound Ditian. Of course, Ditian taught him a very, very painful lesson afterwards because of this very fact. Ditian treasured the bear lord's strength, so he didn't kill him for this affront. Otherwise, the bear lord would have become Ditian's food a long time ago. The bear lord's Skydia Claw only paused momentarily in the air when Shenlina's green flame dragon head blocked it. Its intense golden light dimmed momentarily before it continued slashing down towards Shenlina. Shenlina growled as bluish-green light circles glowed on her green flame dragon form one after another, and surged out continuously. The bear lord's razor-sharp claws had arrived, and these light circles forcefully blocked those claws. However, the light circles didn't last for long. The bear lord's Skydia Claw cut through and shattered those light circles one after another, like a hot knife cutting through butter, and his sharp claws were coming closer and closer to Shenlina. The green lights on Shenlina's body became stronger, and the green flames burning on her body caused the air around her to twist and contort. But even so, she still couldn't stop those sharp claws from descending upon her. Shenlina understood in this moment that she was wrong from the start, and her choice to meet the bear lord's force with force was her greatest mistake. The dark golden terror bear was most adept at breaking through defenses, and his offensive capabilities were just far too strong. She didn't stand a single chance meeting force with force, and she should have chosen hit and run tactics. Perhaps then she would have been able to hold the bear lord down for a longer time. Unfortunately, understanding everything now was far too late. The bear lord's claws tore open the sky, and those deep gashes in the sky possessed immense suction force. The reason why this attack was terrifying was because his opponent would know that the bear lord's Skydia Claw possessed frightening attacking strength, but the deep gashes in the torn space would pull his opponent in, so his opponent had no choice but to meet force with force. Am I going to die just like this? Right at this moment, Shenlina suddenly felt her entire body lighten, and the pressure in front of her abruptly disappeared. She could see a huge patch of black in front of her, an enormous black shield blocked for her, and the bear lord's sharp claws slashed against this shield with ear-piercing slicing sounds. Black dragons circled around the shield, and waves of dragon roars sounded like laments as 9 soul rings sparkled continuously. They released soul skills one after another in an attempt to block the terrifying sharp claws, but the shield itself was quivering violently. Shenlina was behind this shield, but she could clearly see cracks starting to appear one after another. No! Shenlina shouted at the top of her voice, and bolted forward in a flash so that she could continue blocking those dark golden terror claws. However, a ray of black light shot out from behind the shield and cocooned her. Black light burst out from the shield immediately afterwards. Vigorous booms rang out continuously as the bear lord's Skydia Claw finally erupted into golden dots that dissipated into the sky, and the deep gashes in the sky closed up at the same time. Black light descended from the sky, and plummeted to the top of Shrek City's western wall. Everything happened too quickly, to the point where Shrek Academy's various powerful individuals were too late to reinforce Shenlina even if they wanted to. They could only watch everything unfurl before their very eyes. The bear lord's radiance was conspicuously dimmer than before after he unleashed his Skydia Claw. His chest heaved up and down as he panted faintly. Even with his 470,000 years of cultivation, he still had to take a breather after using all his strength in one attack. A green beam of light surged into the sky above Shrek City and blocked the bear lord. It was Elder Song, who had a furious look on her face. Elder Song hadn't participated directly in the fighting. Instead, she had coordinated with everyone and supported them from one side so that she could respond to any emergencies or dangers that might occur on any front. Shenlina hadn't expected the bear lord to use his signature move from the get-go, and Elder Song didn't see that coming either. She was originally focused on another side of the city. From her perspective, with her daughter and her daughter's husband teaming up against the bear lord, they would be able to hold him back even if they couldn't defeat him. Who would have thought that the bear lord wouldn't follow conventional behavior and unleash his Skydia Claw at the start of the fight? Shenlina and Chen Duojuo had already clashed with the bear lord's Skydia Claw by the time Elder Song realized what was going on. Elder Song instantly transformed into a green beam and rocketed towards the bear lord, using her martial soul true body, her green shadow godly hawk. The truth was that Elder Song's abilities were the best counter to the bear lord. She could best evade the bear lord's destructiveness with her speed. Back at the top of the city wall, the black light struck the city wall and revealed its original form. Chen Duojuo. Both he and Shenlina were back in their human form at this point. Shenlina was in his embrace, but Chen Duojuo's tall and strong body was full of cuts and gashes that wove across his entire frame. Flesh and skin rolled and folded, and glaring white bones were revealed on many parts of his body, as if he were a man made of blood. Wah! A mouthful of blood spurted from Chen Duojuo's mouth onto Shenlina's body. His muscular frame swayed as he forced himself to put Shenlina on the ground before he crumpled down next to her. Duojuo. Shenlina hugged him tightly, and her eyes were filled with tears. Of course she knew what Chen Duojuo had just done. In order to block the bear lord's attack, Chen Duojuo chose to detonate his black dragon shield. He had relied on the formidable offensive strength that a tidal Douluo could produce by detonating his martial soul to dispel the bear lord's frightening Skydia Claw. However, Chen Duojuo was severely injured because of that. Was detonating one's martial soul that easy? Martial souls were a part of any human on the Douluo continent, and the stronger one's martial soul was, the more intimate its fusion was with one's body. To say that one's martial soul was the most important part of one's body for tidal Douluo couldn't possibly be wrong. Chen Duojuo didn't just detonate his own martial soul, as he had to take the rest of Skydia Claw's remaining force as well. Fresh blood fountained from Chen Duojuo's mouth. His pupils were already starting to grow slack and disorganized, but his face was strangely full of smiles. Duojuo, how are you? Duojuo. Shen Liner wasn't good at healing at all, and she didn't know how to help him. Why are you so foolish? Why did you take the brunt of everything by yourself? You. Shen Liner was sobbing uncontrollably at this point. Lin. Hair. I've always wanted to call you that, except I never dared to on normal days, but at a time like this, I dare, because if I don't call you that now, I may never get the chance again. Chen Juojuo's voice was quivering, but he tried his best to steady his voice. Blood continued flowing from his mouth as he spoke, and even his nose and ears were bleeding profusely. The Bear Lord's attack wasn't just razor sharp, it also possessed immense vibratory force. Right at this moment, a shadow swiftly flew over to Shen Liner and Chen Juojuo and landed right next to them. He pressed his hand down on Chen Juojuo as countless verdant bluish green vines surged out from his hands and quickly attached themselves to Chen Juojuo's body. 9 soul rings emerged from beneath his feet and circled around his body. His first, fourth, and sixth soul rings glowed first as gentle bluish green light flowed continuously into Chen Juojuo. This man who came forward in time to treat Chen Juojuo was the only elder of the Sea God's Pavilion who was adept with healing and treatment, Elder Zhuang, who was an auxiliary type titled Douluo. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.